Okay, so for all the fellows who don't know what this is the bolt on my timing chain tensioner unit, and pretty much what you see is what you get with this. A spring that goes inside a hollow bolt, and this kind of bolts into the timing chain tensioner unit, which you'll be able to see over here now. And what this does is this spring kind of pushes against the timing chain tension, the timing chain's what can I say, pressure plate, which kind of holds the tension in the timing chain. There's a good reason why I pulled this out to inspect this, and I can already see that my spring is starting to kind of look a little awkward here. It's starting to form these shapes, which is not supposed to. It's supposed to be a simple, straightforward spring. If it had retained its properties, then you would not be seeing it bend and twist like that. It would still be straight when I pull it out. So this kind of compresses fully. This becomes nicely compressed from the bolt end. So this kind of goes into the bolt, and when you shove this in completely, the other end kind of pushes against the pressure pad, and that pushes onto the timing chain, and thereby the tension in the tension in the timing chain is maintained, and so you don't get to hear any kind of a hissing, tickling, ticking noise coming from the engine. So the ticking is very obvious if you put your ear to the left side of the engine. It doesn't come up on the right side or on the top. It is no, you can hear it from the left side and towards the top. So that's where you will hear the ticking. You will not hear it as valve tick. You will hear it clearly. It will be very simple. Or if you guys have a confusion, if you're not sure about what is the noise that you're getting from your motorcycle, then you can remove this and see how the spring is. Straight from the factory, the spring ought to be straight. It should not have these bends. This is not a very bad spring. I mean, this is not in that bad a shape. But that being said, this can definitely, this does need replacement. So what you guys can do to kind of quieten or silence the timing chain noise is you can kind of put in a small spacer in there, maybe 2 or 3 threads, or please kindly don't put in something that is about this much and then have the spring hanging up from there. Don't do that, is because this may not be the right thing to do. You need at least 1 centimeter of the spring to go in and hold on to that bolt really well, so that doesn't fly off or kind of, you know, twists and turns and kind of comes out of the bolt. We don't want that to happen. So the best solution for this is to put something in here halfway or slightly below, and then have the spring put in. So the logic behind that is you increase tension on the spring, and thereby you increase tension on the pressure pad, and so you kind of silence the timing chain. And that is as simple as it gets. It's not rocket science. It's a simple deal. You guys can of course try this. So if you have noises coming from the engine and you want to diagnose it, you go step by step. Either it's the timing chain, or it's the valves, or it's the rocker arm, and so on and so forth. So this is a good check that you can do now. And so let me just get done with adding something like a spacer in there, and then I'll show it to you. Okay, so this is me taking an Allen key bolt. I guess this would be 3 mm, or I think that's roughly 3 millimeters. So I took a 3 millimeter Allen key bolt and I chopped it off right at the center with my mini saw and my vice grip. So I held the bolt in place with my vice grip and chopped the bolt off into halves. And now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using this as a spacer to increase the tension. Shove that in, and then there you go. So now if you see, I have kind of technically increased the length of the spring. So more tension on the pressure pad or pressure plate, and more tension on the timing chain as well. So it's a simple mechanism. I've used this fellow as a spacer inside the bolt, the timing chain tensioner bolt, and so that goes in. Keep in mind to put the grinded surface in and keep the flat surface of this particular bolt facing upwards, because you want a clean finished surface facing upwards, because you want kind of even pressure to be applied on the spring. And so that goes in, and the spring goes in on top, and this goes into your timing chain tensioner assembly. Okay guys, so this is the timing chain tensioner unit, and this is the new gasket that I've gotten for myself because mine got torn. If you guys can see, that's the gasket, got torn on the top. So I got myself a new one. It has a small bead of the sealant, the red ring that you see. It's a sealant. It will melt with temperature, and it will kind of hold things in place, like how you can see here. It has gotten smeared. So the idea behind this, this is a simple ratcheting style timing chain tensioner. What you do is, if you press hard on this lever, if you guys can see that, you'll find a small spring inside this. I don't know if this catches the spring inside this groove. So what you do is you press on this lever, and then you can push this in, and this is the part. It's a metal I don't really know what to call this. It's a metal end that goes and presses on the pressure plate for the timing chain, and that is what holds the tension in the timing chain. So that's one half of it. The other half is a spring that goes inside this groove, and a bolt that presses hard on the spring. Thereby, when this is pressed hard, if you guys watch closely, if I press hard on this, if you watch, if I just press hard on this, then it kind of pushes this lever forward to a point where it generates enough pressure on the timing chain pressure pad, and then that's about it. So the maximum adjustment that this can have is about that much, and so that's the idea behind creating pressure on the pressure plate, the timing chain. And see, if your timing chain gets worn out, then the most easiest thing, or the best way to identify if your timing chain is out of its limits, is if all of these the entire rod has come out, completely extended, and there's no more space to go, and your motorcycle is making a timing chain noise. So that's how you know that your timing chain has stretched beyond its limits. So this is the maximum that I can stretch with the spring tension. And oh shit, I dropped my O-ring. Yeah, there you go. There's an O-ring on this end. So there's an O-ring spring that is an oil seal ring, and then this bolt that goes in like that and creates enough pressure on this rod. So the idea behind adding more tension to the spring is just like I showed in the first half of the video. I cut a small portion of a bolt, I shoved it in, and like you can see, press on this, push it in, and then when you shove this back in, you kind of create enough tension for this particular fellow to come out and hold pressure on the pressure pad. Well, that's about it. I've just managed to clean things up nice and thoroughly, and just a tiny bit of grease to hold things in place, on the gasket in place, and then we can put things together. Just so that this doesn't move when you put it back together. Well, that's the grease that I've used. Timken kind of waterproof grease, but very high temperature, very high quality grease. So if you guys can see, I have kind of put things back in place, and then I'm going to be seeing how much of wear and tear the chain has gone through. Has it stretched beyond its limits? The vehicle has done 26,500 kilometers, and we'll just see if the chain has enough tension before it needs replacement. So all you need to do is press on this lever, push this back in completely, and yeah, kind of align it like that, make it straight, and then shove this in gently, let it mate on the cylinder, and then push the spring back in and press hard, press nicely, full tension, create as much tension as you can, and then pull the spring out. And once you pull the tensioner back out, you'll be able to see, well, that's how much, that's exactly half of where the full extension is. I mean, that's exactly just half the length of the rod that comes out. If you watch, there's another half, exactly half. So we are about here, and there's so much more to go. So well, that's that, as simple as that. That's how you go about understanding how much where the timing chain has gone through. So that's just that much, nothing more. No big deal. You guys can definitely run the same tensioner, maybe change the spring or add a little more tension to the spring with the mod that I just showed you, and then put things back together. That's about it, as simple as that. This is how you go about diagnosing your timing chain noise and your timing chain wear, and this is a quick fix to the tiny bit of a noise that you get to hear from the timing chain. So just add a little more tension to one end of the spring, and this will hold the pressure plate in place. So that's that, guys. If you like the video, kindly subscribe to the channel, and I'll keep you posted on how you go about maintaining your motorcycle. See you on the next one. Bye.